Good afternoon, all eminences, ladies and gentlemen. All of us here are Christian, all of us care passionately about the future of Iraq for the Christian indigenous population. My name is Fiona and I manage FREMI, the Foundation for Relief and Reconciliation in the Middle East, a non-governmental UK organisation, a Christian charity operational in Iraq since 2002, inspired by our founder, Canon Andrew White, who assisted the Iraqi Church of St. George's in Baghdad to become strong, secure and established. The title of today's this panel is Reconstruction, Reconciliation and a Right to Return, or as my own subtitle refers to, Reconciliation and Peacemakers is a Risky Business. Reconciliation by nature is risky, it's powerful, and it's oh so necessary. As a reconciler, you run the risk of being misunderstood, of being labelled at best optimists, at worst naive, or even apologists for violent sectarianism. Make no mistake, reconciliation is risky, and all the NGOs I know can take the risks, as that's what we're all about, caring for the internally displaced people, the Iraqi Christians, and refugees. And we need to be resilient for those we care for, as I'm sure most of my fellow panelists would agree. But in all religious faiths, the pursuit of peace sits within a position of power. Make no mistake, reconciliation dialogue is powerful, or else why would it be resisted? The reconciliation dialogue is also very practical. I would give, for my own NGO, the practical example of St. George's Church in Baghdad, medical clinic, a practical and technical solution. It's an effective reconstruction, a multi-faith clinic building within the compound of an Iraqi Christian church community. Hope built in chaos following the previous war in Iraq of 2003, whereby hundreds of people are treated free every week in our clinic, made possible by reconciling communities in practical ways, done through the Iraqi church, with the support of Christian NGOs in a very secure environment. Cooperation was key to this, safety paramount, investment necessary, and with that there was a successful outcome. A researcher in the UK called Sarah van Billebeck has said, peace building cannot purely be a technical endeavour, we need to look at the politics. And in the Middle East, and particularly Iraq, at FREMI we would say yes to the politics, but equally so to the religious dialogue. At FREMI, we believe religion and politics are uniquely interrelated in Iraq, hence the significance of this very necessary debate, and that our reconciliation dialogue is inclusive. But very briefly, I want to mention the right to return. If you had asked any of our Christian NGO partners a year ago working with Iraqi people displaced by the conflict, this is Iraqi Christians, do you think people wish to return? Almost without hesitation, the answer would have been no. However, we have noted a heart change in our dear precious brothers and sisters. Of those who sought refuge in Jordan, a third now express a different hope. These are mostly young families whose children are adapting to changes and beginning to feel safer. At FREMI, we're planning to do a more directed population intent survey of those we have contact with. Regarding IDPs in Iraq wishing to return to their villages, I would say our partner organisations noted a change from 3% of respondents wishing to return to now 40%. We would say we need to keep the evidence of genocide coming, so we keep coming to us the evidence you have so that we can present that as NGO partners in the UK to our UK government. The Nineveh reconstruction project was already begun to rebuild and resettle these people. Over 500 families have already returned to Tel Aviv. 74 homes have been repaired in Karakosh and work is underway. Some UK NGOs have even mentioned the need for the UK to invoke an R2P, but security is paramount. We Christian NGOs want to help you, our Iraqi brothers and sisters, however we can, to communicate the needs of the Iraqi church to our supporters who are your brothers and sisters, and as a group of NGOs to continue to lobby our governments for Iraq. We look forward to having an international conference of donors. We look forward to having conferences for reconciliation. But now I'd like to introduce my very esteemed partners to listen to their opinions.
Thank you very much. I'm a member of the former Iraqi parliament and from the Shlomo Foundation for Documentation. Hope from tragedy and ethnic cleansing. When we say cleansing, we really mean people left alone to face their destiny before such barbarism that does not know mercy or human rights. An attack on the city of Mosul, followed by occupation of the Syriacs, the Armenians, the Yazidis, the Shabak, the Turkmens, and others. And they killed and kidnapped and carried out sexual violence on many and forced them to displacement. Many Christians had to leave the land of their forefathers where they had lived for 7,000 years. Many had 138 citizens representing 25,000 families had to leave. They were threatened to have to change their religion based on decrees issued by ISIL, where people either became Muslims or had to die, and all kinds of oppression were carried out against them, sexual, physical violence. Children like Christina and others were taken and they were forced to change their religion and become Muslims. And in Declaration 108 of 1435 of the Hijra calendar considered that these people could be bought with the exception of the of other nationalities, but the Christians were targeted and the victims were as follows: forced migration, 138 Christian individuals who had to abandon their religion; direct kidnapping by 250 victims, fully documented; 28 were killed, hundreds were enslaved, 103 physical violence, tens of women were sexually violated. But the truth is that the numbers are far greater, and many cases were documented. The survivors were 169 so far. Those who have disappeared are also many. And we had lost 1,131 martyrs during the period 2003 to 2014. And after investigation, the results were follows: 138 churches were destroyed, their heritage was robbed, and graves were burned. Destruction and burning of 42% of households, partial burning of the other habitats, and destruction of industrial and productive facilities as documented in the Shlomo Foundation. 134 projects were destroyed, which was $24 million worth. 100% of robbing of projects, and therefore modern villages have become ghost towns, and hope was killed in the souls of those who had lived 3 years of misery and physical and psychological pressure and unsound environment. If we compare all this legally, according to the prohibition of ethnic cleansing, we will see very clearly that the violence against and oppression against Christians is the equivalent of ethnic cleansing. because there is determination as seen in the slogans and writings on walls uh, written by ISIL, threatening Christians wherever they are, since they are considered as agnostics. We today, and after your recognition that what was perpetrated in terms of crimes by ISIL against Christians, Yazidis, and other religious minorities is a crime of ethnic cleansing according to your decision of 2015 in Strasbourg, and we are looking forward to see you support our people so that we can bring back confidence to these people and guarantee their safety and security, because citizens cannot go back to their homes unless we guarantee security and safety, because the situation today is unstable and because there are many security forces. Also, the future administration that will restore faith in the individuals to live with neighboring communities and allowing people to live their lives and to manage their own regions. Also, providing compensation for material and psychological and physical damage, rehabilitation of habitats and infrastructure. Our people are looking forward to your support and to urge members of the Security Council to refer the case to the International Court of Justice with regards to the crimes perpetrated by ISIL against the Yazidis, the Shabak, the Kakais, the Turkmens, the Christians, and other religious and ethnic minorities. And as stated in your declaration, what took place was a collective ethnic cleansing. So let us give freedom its meaning and people their dignity. And thank you for your kind attention. We started since the beginning of the European Union supporting Christians in Iraq. Greetings to you all. The future of the plains of Nineveh and the guarantees for the Chaldean Syriac Assyrian peoples as adopted by the European Parliament for more than 2 years, and its supervision of this organized conference held today on the 28th of June 27, a historical date, which is the first international call that looks into the ethnic cleansing of our people for such a long time. The fact that the international community and the European Parliament has and under the supervision of Mr. Lars and his team, and based on the conference that was held in Ankara under the supervision of Mr. Johan Stiggon, who is in charge of the political affairs in Europe, and through his initiative to hold a number of or a series of meetings for the reconstruction of our region, and that could not be successful without the support of the international community, especially the United Nations and Europe and the United States, where it was agreed to create a network of civil society organizations for our Chaldean, Syriac, and Assyrian people in the plains of Nineveh. The objective is to unify these organizations and strengthen their role to reconstruct, and those who will benefit are the people, our people, and other communities living with us in peace within the same geographical area, the Yazidis, the Shabaks, the Turkmens, and others. And the support will be through the European Union and all donor countries and the state of Iraq, and any party that can contribute in reconstructing the plains of Nineveh. After the end of this conference, a council was established which included 27 organizations from the civil society for the plains of Nineveh, and regulations were established, and it was signed by 17 organizations, and the network was included representatives from all the communities and had different competencies, such as engineering committee, financial committee, management committee, legal committee, media and legal committee, committee for women and children, committee for sport and for agriculture, a Human Rights Committee, other committees, and elections were carried out according to the internal regulations, and a president and a vice president were adopted, and a secretary, one for the northern part of the plains and the other for the southern part. And to ensure the success of the reconstructing, many engineers were appointed from Karakosh to Al-Qosh, with the Supreme Consultative Engineering Unit and the Financial Committee, to establish a financial plan for the network. And therefore, amongst the priorities, according to the opinion of the organizations, and as a first step, is to guarantee the region politically and in security-wise, to ensure the return of the refugees to their homes. And then the restructuring phase, by getting rid of the rubbles that are blocking different places, and also burying bodies that have been left due to the bombings, and to start reconstructing infrastructure like electricity, roads, communications, and reconstructing destroyed homes, whether partially destroyed or fully destroyed, within a time frame that will not exceed 6 months if support is available, so that our people can go back to their homes, and to put an end to the migration, because there is no clear vision with regards to the future of the plains of Nineveh, though the region was liberated for more than 8 months. As for the second phase, plans and training courses have to be prepared about human resources, and the region has to be developed economically, politically, and our tragedy has to remain alive. We have to establish a facility that will remind everyone about the ethnic cleansing that took place in our region. Damages were evaluated, and the following financial amounts were determined. The total amount in dollars for the plains of Nineveh, Al-Hamdaniya district needs $221,563,038. Bartalla municipality need $67 million roughly. Kermeles municipality $28,472,580. Bashika and Bahdani, the two municipalities, $89,378,000. From Tel Keif, in the northern part of the plains of Nineveh, as a whole, calculations were made. Tel Keif to Al-Qosh and the municipalities between them, $622,770,000. The total amount will be about $1,027,617,000. So to develop the plains of Nineveh, and so that reconstruction will be compatible with developments in the world, we have put new plans for projects to develop the region, and as shown in the table, the following table, from Tel Keif to Al-Qosh, and to rebuild the economy after the return of people. So these are future economic projects. $2,589,000. We also need a radio station, a television station, which has been evaluated by $110,000. The total amount for this future plan is $1,848,000 roughly. And here again we have certain projects for the southern part of the plains of Nineveh, which was not mentioned by our sister Hanan in this report. Finally, we wish much success to those who will organize that conference, and especially the Foreign Affairs Department, to ensure the success of this project, which is so important for our people. Thank you. Steve Habesh, head of the Karakosh municipality. I was charged by my colleagues in different councils in Bartalla and the plains of Nineveh to convey this message, where our people have decided in the plains of Nineveh that I deliver this speech in this conference, and we are hopeful that the organizers of this conference will take this document into consideration, as it is the voice of our people, and our people are hopeful to or conveys to you their best regards and are hopeful that you will save them from this tragic situation they find themselves in, since for the past 3 years, as they have all left their homes, they have left their properties, their dignities, and are awaiting your voice. They are awaiting your serious work in order to save them. Thank you. This speech says that efforts have to be undertaken to respond to our legitimate demands and our visions and the visions of the civil society organizations, because we are aware today that concepts of citizenship have declined, and especially with regards to the impact on the Chaldean, Syriac, and Assyrian people, and this might lead to violations and aggressions. And the government has to help us. And since we lack the possibility to defend ourselves, and we are marginalized at all levels of the government, and since we have a long history and we have defended Iraq and its territories, we have given our own martyrs, and we have done whatever is possible to develop the economy of our country and establish political stability. If our people should disappear from Iraq, this will have an impact on the stability, since we are a genuine, authentic people, and we have a history that has to be mentioned. Our Chaldean, Syriac, Assyrian are amongst the oldest peoples in the world and contributed in the building of civilizations for more than 6,000 years. And our peaceful people have been subject to oppression even after the foundation of Iraq in 1921 and the different governments that came into place, and even after the fall of the former government in 2003, much oppression was exercised on our people by force. And we have studied history very closely, and you will find out that we see many kinds of injustice, killings, whether collective or individual, and hundreds of thousands of people fell victim between martyrs, displaced people, and others, and such practices that we were subjected to were the attempts by all the regimes that govern Iraq and that wanted to falsify our history in order to put an end to our identity, or to ensure that our identity will somehow be part of another identity. So people had to leave their regions. They fled towards Mosul and Baghdad at the time. They were forced to change their identities in records, and all these practices were exercised against our people who wanted to live peacefully in the land of their forefathers. All the dictatorships, rather than responding to the demands of our people, used force in order to paralyze our people. But our people did not remain silent, especially in the villages and towns of the plains of Nineveh and certain provinces, northern provinces, and we wanted to maintain our democratic existence. And and most of the families have been divided between 3 or 4 countries, and therefore it is important that we look forward to whoever could save us during this period, and where we can come back to our land, and where we can self-rule ourselves within a unified federal state. And we seriously claim laws that give legitimacy to our project, and our people have given sacrifices, both material and in terms of persons. We are looking forward to see the international community to come and save us as swiftly as possible, and we would like to remind you of certain agreements that gave self-rule to our people, as that of 1925 and
والتي تم البحث فيها بوضوح.
The speaker is speaking very quickly. I'm sorry, as an interpreter. Could you please ask the speaker to speak a bit slower? We don't have the text, and at that speed, we're not computers. Very sorry. As for the requests that our people conveyed us to inform you, because time is running out, our people are looking forward that you respond to their claims. First, to acknowledge international protection or create a safe haven and to immediately reconstruct churches and state institutions. And we call upon the United States and the European Union and donor countries to preserve our people, and to acknowledge that our region has been harmed since 2017, and there's the Iraqi parliament's decision to put an end to the division between the federal government or the plains of Nineveh that might be divided between the federal government and the Kurdistan region, to provide self-rule to the region that can be managed by the region's own people without any intervention by others, and to allow our people to enjoy their cultural specificities. Also, finding means of investment in the region, and to allow agricultural and industrial projects to flourish so that our people can work in such fields. To ensure that the central government and Kurdistan region would avoid our region from being a region under dispute, and also to carry out a census of our region at the level of the municipality parliaments as is democratically required. Thank you. We would like those who have held this organization to follow up seriously what is taking place in our region. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll try to keep it short, because they're signaling that we are really running out of time. Baruch Mor, Shlomo, it's of course always the most important is always, of course, always to hear the voice of the people of the ground. We, as a Demand for Action, ADFA, are very pleased that the other NGOs from the ground are here to give a voice to the victims of a genocide, because indeed it is a genocide. It matches the criteria of the United Nations, and action must be taken to save the victims of a genocide. Resolution after resolution has passed, but what has actually been done on the ground? On the 2nd of July 2014, we formed an organization because we found that there was a lack of giving a voice for people who for 10 years, for a decade, have suffered from ethno-religious cleansing. The perpetrators had for 10 years tried to wipe out the sole existence of Christianity, of Yazidis, Mandaeans, Shabaks, Kakas, and of any evidence of the existence of the Assyrian Empire in the Nineveh Plains and the culture of the Assyrian Chaldean Syriacs. 2nd of July 2014, more than 15,000 emails were sent to world media, reporters, editors, researchers, correspondences, to parliamentarians, other politicians, governments, NGOs. We begged the world to hear the plight of our people. We knew that what started in September 2004 with the first beheading of one of the inhabitants of Mosul would 10 years later become a full-scale genocide. The question is why the rest of the world didn't see that. And the answer is there is a lack of interest. We are seen as a small minority. But we're also seen as the cradle of modern civilization. So why didn't the current civilization try to save us? We've said it before, and we say it again. The only solution for all these people, all these refugees and IDPs, and also we, the others that are affected by this genocide, we who are from these ethnicities and these religions, we need hope. We need faith. We ask for a safe haven. We have not gotten any answer from the United Nations. Now you, the Iraqi NGOs and the religious leaders, 2 patriarchs, 3 churches, 4 churches represented, are asking for your rights, the rights of a self-administration. It is within the constitution of Iraq to have a province called the Nineveh Plains, as it is for 2 other provinces. You're not asking for something that is violating any laws or constitutions. You're asking for your rights. We've met orphans on streets. Everyone fled with only their clothes on their backs. They were abounded both by the Iraqi army and the Peshmerga. Nobody to protect them. Both promised to protect them, and they were scattered. They are scattered. We've been in Greece searching for drowned children. In Sudan and Chad, there are several, a lot, we don't know how many. And we're not interested in figures and numbers anymore. We're interested in human beings. We don't know how many that are in Africa, but we saved some of them out of camps full of Al-Shabaab terrorists. Christians, Assyrian Chaldean Syriacs who fled from Nineveh, stranded in Tanzania, South Sudan. We meet the hostages. We meet the kidnapped people that have been released. The trauma, children without school for 3 years. That's what they tell us. But what really happened to them will be kept in secret. It's taboo. But we all know what happened to them. We also all know that the only solution is a self-administration, a province that is ruled by the inhabitants of the Nineveh Plain themselves. Thank you.
Much attention is rightly given today to the political solutions to the pressing problems facing the Christian communities of northern Iraq. But unless we consider even only briefly the moral and human solutions, we may find that we have lost sight of what these communities can offer to the rebuilding of civil society. It is not enough to build a state that tolerates or even protects minority groups. In order to build a prosperous future for Iraq and all Iraqis, Christian, Muslim, or otherwise, Christians must be welcomed as participants in the organization and governance of the nation. Once welcomed, however, Christians must have the fortitude to articulate a uniquely Christian vision for society that has proven to be, with a handful of glaring exceptions, a vision that has consistently produced prosperity and progress. While it would be many centuries before these principles would be clearly systematized, critical preconditions of stable, flourishing societies like the rule of law, property rights, and access to the institutions of justice were first articulated in the Pentateuch. The great genius of the Christian faith is that it does not have just one cultural home. Its principles and virtues are universally applicable and do not result in a singular type of political structure or social organization, but a society that is marked by respect, order, and public tranquility that is accessible to all. These are not Western concepts. These are Christian concepts. The Christian vision for society has nothing to do with access to power, however. Christians have not historically done well when at the top of the heap. Our greatest contributions, not surprisingly given the trajectory of the life of Christ, come when we are speaking and acting from a position of disadvantage. Even without power, Christians speak with a voice of authority when we speak on behalf of our tradition as Christians. Power is external. It is the means by which men are coerced into action or inaction. Authority, however, is an appeal to something that is internal. It may be the result of social mores and customs, but it is also the result of the actualization of truth. When the church has been at its best, it has appealed to authority rather than used power. My Christian tradition is months away from being 500 years old. While many here are from communities of believers that can directly trace their existence and customs to within just a few years of the life of Christ, sometimes shifts like those represented by the Reformation can lead to a helpful refocusing. Fewer trees have taken root in my forest, after all, so it may be easier to see both. The question remains, however, what is it that Christians bring to this discussion that is unique? First, Christians have a distinctive vision of the human person that links human creaturely identity directly to the character of the Creator. Psalm 8 reads, "When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is man that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you care for him?" The Creator that set each star in place is mindful of the human race collectively, but also individually. The human person is created in the image of God and not simply created and left to his own devices, but each of us, Christian or not, occupies a place in the mind and heart of his or her Creator. This stunning reality means that each of us, as image bearers, possesses dignity and creative capacity. People are a nation's greatest valuable asset because of the uniqueness of human intelligence, reason, and resourcefulness. Christian communities are uniquely situated to give voice to this because while the concept of human dignity is widely discussed, and many claim it for their own ends, the concept means nothing apart from the Christian tradition that innovated and anchored it. Each man and woman is created in the image of God, his or her form vindicated by the incarnation of God as man. Second, Christians have a unique set of virtues that provide the frame for understanding right action and morality. While other religious traditions are orthoprax, with a fundamental emphasis on law and the regulation of social life, Christianity is orthodox and places a fundamental emphasis on correct belief. And when it comes to social life, right belief is guided by universal principles rather than rigid rules. It is not that Christian communities should not see the social interactions of Jesus as normative. It is just that the normative aspect is defined in terms of virtue, and Christian virtue to be more precise. We have the conceptual tools as Christians to translate the teaching of the first century into the reality of the 21st century in a way that other religions do not. And this is one of the key reasons that the Christian vision for society is uniquely associated with progress. It is faith, hope, and love that mark the life of Christ, and as a result, these should mark every Christian community. This is obviously an ideal that we fall short of very often, but the perfect cannot be allowed to be the enemy of the good. Our faith breeds the courage necessary to act, to speak, and to bear witness. We have a fixed hope that promises a better future and allows us to see the possibility even now of realizing aspects of that future in the present. And finally, it is love coupled with our anthropology that should animate our willingness to see through the temporary facade of cultural, social, and religious difference, to see men and women created in God's image who may be temporarily disguised as enemies, but who are potential partners and co-laborers in the project of building a society where all men and all women can flourish. So I reach the end of my remarks, thankful that you have listened. It is our tradition that lays claim to so many necessary preconditions for a healthy, just, and flourishing society. Our tradition first articulated the principles of social structure and action that even the institutions of the European Parliament are dependent upon. I truly hope, for the sake of all the people of Iraq, that the members of your persecuted and marginalized ancient communities of faith are given the opportunity to contribute meaningfully to the rebuilding of civil society, because what Christians have to offer has a proven track record of establishing ordered, stable societies where all men and women, irrespective of religion, have been able to flourish.
Thank you. Baruch Mo, Baruch Yomo, good day. Really, it is challenging for an Eastern priest to be put in a time frame to speak for a couple of minutes, because we are used to know when to start, but it is not easy for us to know when to end. So, but I will do my best. Thanks for the conference for inviting me to give on behalf of CAPNI, a short presentation to introduce you CAPNI, which is the abbreviation of Christian Aid Program Nuhadra Iraq. Nuhadra is the Syriac Christian name for the city of Dohuk. And altogether, CAPNI is also, in Syriac language, refers to Hungary or hunger. CAPNI is the biggest local Christian organization. And by biggest, I refer in terms of staff. We are 16 in the headquarters, 16 professional staff in the headquarters, and 70 other staff in the field. And also by biggest, I refer for the geography of our work, which covers all over Dohuk and Nineveh Plain, and a couple of activities in Erbil, Baghdad, and sometimes cross-border activities to Kamishli, Khabur, Heseka in Syria. And we are the wider local organization with in terms of network with the local community, local government, and international back donors. I'm speaking for 15 or 16 back donors from Germany, from Netherlands, and other European countries. And this altogether helped us to be the wider one or the bigger one, implementing organization for a wide range of activities. I'm referring for life-saving relief activities, medical care, education, livelihood, etc., that you may think about. But what we do exclusively, different than other organizations, is what we put it in one of our sectors is we call it Eastern Christianity. We are the only organization in Kurdistan and Iraq working in three very specific activities related to our Chaldean Syriac Assyrian community. By those three, I'm referring for the catechesis programs with the native church, and then the Syriac promotion to restore and preserve our Syriac identity in terms of literature, printing books, training the trainers, Syriac language courses, etc. And the third one, which also meets this conference, is the advocacy. We are also active in advocacy. Last year, CAPNI was the only Iraqi organization invited to the General Assembly meeting of UN, and in 2 weeks I'm to be there again to launch the action plan for the faith-based organizations. We are the only one to be there. So this helped us in this wide work. All it is based on the motto. We are motivated since when we started 25 years ago. We are motivated and still with this motto of to keep the hope alive. دنقاوي صبرو حايو. ده هيفي هرب مينت لكي يبقى الأمل حيا. This had been our motivation for 25 years, and this we are committed to do. But of course, hope is not just emotions, it's not just words, it needs to be linked to practicalities. And this here, I would like to come to main point or points for this presentation and for this meeting, that for me as a leader or head of the CAPNI and as a priest, for me it was easier in around 3 years of displacement of our people. It was easier for me to convince them in the last 3 years than now. In the last 3 years, I will convince them to give them hope that one day is coming that you'll go back. Now, when this moment came, the reality moment came, the big question is coming, was it a hope or an illusion? So this is, we are in challenging. Too many challenges are ahead of us. I'm not speaking about the political security, which had been almost addressed, and it could be addressed more. It is very important, yeah, of course, challenge, but also the material issue. Yeah, regardless, here I would like to refer to the political issue, regardless what will be the political structure of Nineveh Plain, regardless what will be the administrative borders of Nineveh Plain, at least we are quite sure. But right now, indeed, since June 2014, our border line is being drawn on the ground in relation to the public services, education, healthcare, and economy market between Nineveh Plain and Mosul. Non-Christian, non-Yazidian young person, whether a girl or boy, will go to attend high school in Mosul. No Christian or Yazidian woman will go to a hospital in Mosul to give birth. What is the alternative? What is the alternative? This borderline is being drawn. No Christian or Yazidi from Bashika, where the best olive productions in Iraq is being produced, yeah, will go to market in Mosul. What is the alternative? So these are the challenges, regardless what will be the political. This, I hope, the NGOs who are, whether the implementing NGOs or the back donors NGOs, I hope they will take it in consideration. We as CAPNI, we started already, we had allocated all our resources in the last 2.5 years for the displaced people. We were the leading agency to ensure the children to get formal schooling, because you know they came from Arabic school curriculum to Kurdish school curriculum, so it was not easy. You know, I will not go into details, but for example, first year 2015-16 school year, we were collecting and bringing 3,150 children every day for the school year to get their school year. Last year, which is just ended in May, end of May, 2,200, and we are planning for next year as well. Now we are allocating, of course, we did a lot on relief. I will not go into that details on clinic. We operated the Snouni hospital in Sinjar, in the Sinjar region. Now we are switching all our, as much as we can, resources to the Nineveh Plain. Already we started to rehabilitate 150 houses, private houses. We are rehabilitating right now 17 schools. We started child-friendly spaces in Teleskov and operating mobile clinics. And we have a lot to do, or at least we are planning a lot to do in next months, and hopefully, because, you know, whereas we know that all our people displaced were forced to flee and became displaced in one overnight, we never expect them to go back in 1 year. It will take a couple of years. So whereas we are working to enable people to go back, but we should keep also in mind to help the people who will stay longer before they go back. For example, in Batnaya, for the people who will not go back because of the huge destruction, the infrastructure, this challenge, because of time, I will not go into details. In this, we need the intervene of the international community, yeah, because we don't trust the Iraqi government, and we never encourage international community to deliver the support for the Nineveh Plain community, Christians, Yazidis, through the Iraqi government. A government who failed to protect us, a government who failed to respond to our needs when we were displaced, why should we trust her that it will help us in reconstruction? Moreover, it has been quite clear from the behavior of the Iraqi government, it had the will to use the economy to twist the arm to achieve some political issues. We see now 17% of the Kurdistan region portion of the, from the Iraqi budget, it's not being transferred to Iraq since a couple of years. And now the last issue was the harvest of the farmers in the region of Kurdistan. Now the Iraqi government are not receiving just 35% of it. So the Baghdad government, which used the economy, the fair needs of the people, to misuse them in achieving political agenda, how and why should I trust such a government to handle the reconstruction program of my people? In addition of that, of course, with proudly, Iraqi government can say that for a couple of years it is still leading the list of the most corrupted governments all over the world. Yeah. So here I would say that we are thankful and pleased to all of the governments, all the church, NGOs who supported us and still are supporting us to deal with the outcomes of the crisis. But we need to think to deal with the roots of the crisis. Thanks to all who support the displaced. Thanks to all who support the refugees. But we need to deal with the issue of the roots of the problem. Why we are becoming refugees? Why we are becoming displaced in our homeland? Let us touch once and forever, fix the roots of the problem, then it's solved. Now I'm in Brussels, I'm in a hotel, simply because I don't have home here. Let us encourage and help do what will leave our people to feel home in Iraq, then they will not seek hotels in Scandinavia or in Europe.
Today, our people awaits a lot, and they have high expectations from this meeting. And if you follow up on what is written on social media, you'll understand how high the expectations of our people are and what they expect from this conference. Some of them are saying that this is the last chance, and I too believe that this is the last chance before us, because we have reached a crossroads in Iraq. We as Christians in Iraq, we have lost all trust. We have lost faith in the future of Iraq, in their future in Iraq. They have lost trust in their neighbors also, because some of their neighbors have supported ISIS. Some of their neighbors have stolen their homes and have burned down their homes. And that is why I believe that we need to restore trust and to build confidence because we have suffered a lot. We need to rebuild trust. We need to ensure that we are confident again of our future in Iraq, of our future as Christians in our homeland. We trust the way that we are going to be ruled in the future. We need to be steadfast in our homeland because our homeland is very important. The land itself is very important. Human beings come and go, but the land, if we lose it, it will be lost forever. That is why it's very important for us to maintain, to preserve, to protect our homeland. All Christians, the Chaldeans, the Syriac, the Assyrians, the Kakai, and all other Christians, we need to work hard in order to preserve our homeland and to ensure that we will remain steadfast in Iraq, because we all want the Iraqi Christians to remain in our homeland, to remain in the historic homeland of the Iraqi Christians. Everything that has taken place there has led to a lot of suffering. There has been real genocide on the ground. We have documented all that has taken place in Iraq. We have video footages, we have photos, we have films, we have reports in order to document the genocide that has taken place in Iraq. And I believe that once we all acknowledge that a genocide has taken place, we will be able to restore a little bit of trust. We will be able to provide a little bit of protection to the Christians of Iraq. When the Christians left in 2014, they left with their clothes on their backs and with nothing else. And now we want them to come back, we want them to return to their homeland, but their homes have been burned down. They have been destroyed. So we need to provide them with support to enable them to return, to be able to repatriate them. We need your support. We cannot rely on support from the Iraqi government because that country is also suffering and has sustained many losses. So we need your support in order to acknowledge that what has taken place in Iraq has been a genocide, in order to ensure that the Christians of Iraq remain in a self-ruled area inside Iraq. And also we need your support in order to help us rebuild and reconstruct that region, and to help ensure a safe zone, a safe haven where those Iraqi Christians can return to in order to build trust and build their self-confidence so that they can restart living in Iraq alongside with the other populations living in that country. Thank you. Thank you. I believe that this conference could really come out with a number of positive results in order to help Christian minorities in Iraq. But I believe that in order to be able to do so, the conference has to respect a number of principles. The first principle is to support Iraqis and support their aspiration being to be able to self-govern and self-rule their areas. Of course, there are many details that can be delved into in this regard. The second principle is that we need to determine the geographical scope of that area and also the census. We need to take into account the need to hold a census because the last census that was held was in 1957, and it is the only census that we trust and we are based on at the moment. The third principle is that the central government of Iraq, the Iraqi government, has to allocate a budget in order to ensure the sustainable development of the Nineveh Plain. The fourth principle is that we need security forces. We need to be able also to take part in those security forces. Let's assume that the Iraqi army is made up of 2 million soldiers, then a certain percentage needs to be allocated to the residents of the Nineveh Plain. So we need to be represented in the police force and in the Iraqi army according to a certain percentage. And this is the only fair way to go about with this matter so that we can also get positions and high-ranking positions in the state. And the fifth principle is that we need to follow up on what has taken place, the genocide that has taken place in Iraq. We need to prosecute ISIS members who took part in that genocide. This has to be done in cooperation with the UN and with human rights organizations and with all bodies who have documented those crimes committed under this genocide. We need to monitor the situation, and we need to prosecute those responsible for war crimes and for that genocide to prevent such genocides from taking place in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the floor to make a comment. My brothers, we all agree that, well, on the points put forward by my colleagues, most of the points were just similar, and there is one what must demand, if I can say so, that is the how to provide protection and security for the area. I would like to tell you about something that happened 1 month ago. We visited the Nineveh Plain in one of the areas controlled by the military, and we said that there was no security in that area. And for 8 months, this area was liberated from ISIL. The leader said that, yes, it's a liberated area, but there are numbers of terrorist organizations. And I asked him, I said, the faces we have seen, 70% of them have already taken part with the terrorists in destroying the areas. He said, no, more than 90% of them are found here, but we cannot take them out at this point in time. But well, we would like to have international protection, and this is a legitimate demand because our people are suffering a lot from the children, and all the people are just suffering because we need security in this area under international protection, or at least there should be a political decision to provide protection for this area. That should be done by the United Nations. In addition to that, our area has lost trust and confidence in all the government sectors or sections. We need the people of the area to provide this protection. If we do not allow the people of this area to provide protection, this will lead to a crisis in the future. And I think this will be a disaster for the whole country. We do not trust the government departments unless our people who protected us from 2004 to 2014 should come back to provide this protection. In addition to reconstruction, it is extremely slow. So far, reconstruction is very, very, very slow, so we are calling on the international community and the European Union and the government of the United States and the donor countries to help accelerate this reconstruction so that our people will have trust that will go back very early to their homes. More than 50% of our people are found in the neighboring countries, and if they see that there is a reconstruction, they are prepared to come back for the infrastructure as well. All the visions put forward by my colleagues, of course, are agreed upon, and we hope that this conference and our people are placing good trust in this organization, because this is our last opportunity to find ourselves staying in the plain. So I hope that we'll take this seriously, and I hope that you will assist us remain and stay in the Nineveh Plain. Thank you very much.